This is your homework helper, Mrs. Anderson. Today I will help you with Lesson 6, Compare Fractions. Please have your homework page ready and let's begin. This homework helper section says compare 4/5 and 5/6 using the least common denominator. So basically we need the denominators to be the same before we can compare them. So we're going to look for the least common multiple of 5 and 6. Here I have 5, and you can see the multiples are 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And the multiples of 6 are 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. Now looking in both of these lists, I'm looking for the lowest common multiple. The lowest common multiple is 30. Once I have my lowest common denominator, my lowest common multiple, I'm going to take the number here, 4/5. That was one of my very first fractions. And I'm going to change the denominator to 30. So in order to do that, I extend my fraction bar. And then I do 5 times. I ask myself, what do I have to do to 5 to get to 30? Well, I have to times by 6. So I'm going to do 5 times 6 equals 30. And I need to do the same thing up at the top, 5 times 6. And 4 times 6, and my answer is 24. I can multiply, if I multiply the bottom number and the top number by the same number, that's like multiplying by 1, which I can do. Okay, here I have 5, 6, and I'm going to do the very same thing. So I'm looking at 30, which is my lowest common denominator. Thanks. And I'm going to multiply, I'm going to ask myself, what do I do to 6 to get to 30? Well, I'll multiply by 5. If I multiply by 5, on the bottom, I also need to do it on the top. So 5 times 5 is 25, and 6 times 5 is 30. So now I have 24 thirtieths and 25 thirtieths. Well, now by looking at the numerator, I can tell that 25 thirtieths is greater than 24 thirtieths. So I'll write that here. 24 thirtieths is less than 25 thirtieths. And if we remember, 24 thirtieths was an equivalent fraction of 4/5, and 25 thirtieths is an equivalent fraction to 5/6. So I can say that 4/5 is less than 5/6. And then the models here show me, okay, that here's 4/5 and here is 5/6, and it is definitely smaller. All right, so let's do 1 or 2 together here, and then you'll get to work on it on your own. We're going to compare each fraction by drawing models. You don't need to draw a model. If you don't want to, you can just extend the fraction bar using the lowest common denominator. So here I have 4 and 8 as my denominators. So I need to get the lowest common multiple. If I count by 4s, I get 4, 8, 12, 16. If I count by 8, I get 8, 16, 24. I'm looking for the least common multiple. I can see that it's 8. Oh, there's 16 matches also, but it's not the smallest number. I need the least. So I'm going to take 3/4 now, and I'm going to extend my fraction bar and change the denominator to 8. So I'll need to ask myself, what do I do to 4 to get to 8? Well, I multiply by 2. If I multiply by 2 on the bottom, I need to multiply by 2 on the top. So now I ask myself, 3 times 2 equals what number? It equals 6. So I'm going to write it right here. 6/8 is equal to 3/4. Okay, they are equivalent fractions. Now I'm going to take 7/8. Oh, look at that. It already has an 8 as a denominator, so I don't need to do anything with it. So now I'm basically going to cover up the 3/4 and look at 6/8 and 7/8 and write a comparison symbol. Well, I know that 6/8 is smaller, so I'll use this comparison symbol. And now I can take the 6/8 away. These two are equivalent, and now I can say 3/4 is less than 7/8. All right, you'll do the very same thing on number 2 and number 3. Okay, when we get to the back. A survey showed that 7/15 of a class liked soccer and 2/5 liked baseball. Which sport was liked less? I'm looking for which sport was liked less. But in order to tell that answer, I'm going to need to compare 7/15 and 2/5. So basically I'm doing 7/15 is, and I'll need to put a comparison symbol in the middle, greater than, less than, or equal to. But before I can do that, I need to get a common denominator out of 15 and 5. Well, if I use the lowest common multiple, then I'll be able to get a denominator that's the same for both of them. So I have 15 and I have 5. All right, and multiples of 15 are 15, 30, 45. Multiples of 5 are 5, 10, 15. Oh, I can stop. I have a common multiple, and that is 15. All right, so 15 will be my denominator. 7/15 already has a denominator of 15, so I won't need to do anything to this one. 7/15 is finished. But 2/5 has a denominator of 5. So I'm going to take 2/5 and extend my fraction bar and change this fraction into an equivalent fraction that has a denominator of 15. So I ask myself, what do I do with 5 to get to 15? Well, I'll need to multiply by 3. If I multiply by 3 on the bottom, I will also need to multiply by 3 on the top. 2 times 3 is 6. So now I have 6/15. So 2/5 is equivalent to 6/15. So now I'm not going to look at the 2/5. I'm just looking at 7/15 and 6/15, and obviously 15 is the greater number. So I'll put in a greater than sign. And now I'll cover up the 6/15, and now I can say 7/15 is greater than 2/5. Now I'm not finished because I have to tell which sport was liked less. So I'll need to look at my fractions and determine what is the smaller number, determine what sport it's talking about, and write the name of that sport here. All right, let's look at number 5. The 5th graders were given sandwiches for lunch during their field trip. Nathan ate 5/6 of his sandwich, Leroy ate 7/8 of his sandwich, and Sophia ate 5/8 of her sandwich. Who ate the greatest amount of their sandwich? I can see that my denominators are 6, 8, and 8. Let's look at the ones that have the same denominator first and decide which number we need to be able to write who ate the greatest amount. Well, Leroy ate 7/8 and Sophia ate 5/8. Which number is bigger out of 7/8 and 5/8? Well, it's 7/8 because 7 is bigger than 5, and the denominators are the same. So I don't even need to do Sophia because I know that Leroy ate more than Sophia. But I don't know if Leroy ate more than Nathan or not. So I'm going to need to compare 7/8 and 5/6. So the first thing I need to do is get a common multiple of 8 and 6, and then do the process like we did up here. Okay, let's look at number 6. Replace the box with a number to make what number something 24ths is greater than 1/4. We want that to be true. Okay, well, first thing I'm going to have to do is get a common denominator. I already have, 24ths, okay, and fourths here. I'm wondering if 24 is my least common denominator. In fact, I'm sure it is because 4 will go into 24 evenly. So I'm going to take 1/4 over here and change it to 24ths. So I go ahead and do that. 4 times what number equals 24? Do the same thing on the top. Now, whatever this answer is right here, okay, what I'm going to have to do is it will be equivalent to this number. Okay, I don't know what that number is. You'll have to figure that one out. But whatever that number is, this number, it looks like this number here needs to be greater so that this can be a true statement. So if this number was 3, I'm not saying the right or wrong answer. If this number was 3, then this number would need to be a number that is more than 3. It could be 4, 5, 6, okay, anything clear up to 24. Okay, so that's what you'll do. Figure this out and then write down a number that is larger than this numerator. Okay, let's look at number 7. Fill in the blank with the correct word to complete the sentence. The least common denominator is the least common multiple of the blank of the fractions. Okay, to me that seems like it should be talking about the least common denominator is the least common multiple of the denominators of the fractions. That's what I'm going to say. I am looking in my book really fast to check it. And yep, that is the answer, denominators. All right, and test practice. 18 out of 24 of Emil's CDs are country music. 5 out of 8 of Amani's CDs are country music, which is a true statement. Well, 8 out of 24 is going to be 8 24ths. And 5 out of 8 is going to be 5 8ths. Okay, and then you'll read your choices here. Thanks for watching this homework helper video. If you need help, feel free to ask me tomorrow at school.